Guys, we did it. We broke Borderlands 4. This is in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6 True Mode, and we're shredding through Bloom Reaper the Invincible's first phase faster than before possible because of this new weapon that was added in the Bounty Pack 2, and a pretty cool interaction that comes with Harlowe. Now, this is the Shalashaska weapon here, and you can see there, we cleared this in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6 True Mode very quickly. And here's just another normal boss here in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6 True Mode, and you can see now when it's close together, the explosions are just doing some absurd numbers and damage. Again, this is the hardest possible difficulty. And the best part is we don't need no crit knife, we don't need anything, we don't need the bod, we don't need stickies, we still are using torgue, but impact. Again, with the Shalashaska here, the ocelot, which is a reference to revolver ocelot from Metal Gear Solid, every time that we shoot without manually reloading, we get additional ricochet, which whenever we're attacking, it'll just drop below them if we're using the torgue licensed magazine here. And then if we have an enhancement that's going to increase the radius of that, it becomes absurd because then the explosions are so big that every single pellet is also hitting the enemy again. We can also mix in the dataless shotgun ammo and it'll shoot out even more projectiles, and with the Jacobs, obviously that's chaining them all around. Then we can also pair this with some of the other powerful weapons that we've gotten throughout the game. And one of the best parts about this is we're just enhancing a build that's already been quite strong. I've posted about it in the past, but this becomes way crazier when we get into things. I assume most people that are watching are probably playing from the end game, but I'm going to take it back from the start and explain the choices of how they impact the build. With momentum, whenever we entangle an enemy, we get extra critical hit damage. All we're doing is critical hit damage. We want to take this. Now, earlier on, it's still a pretty powerful option, but you could go something like the mains hum in the early game. But neutron decay here. So this is going to give us extra gun damage when we irradiate an enemy. So that's kind of a priority of us because that gives us 50% extra gun damage, and that impacts it quite a bit. I also then like to take the Resonant Cascade here, which will give us increased action skill damage. But one of the most important parts here is actually the confirmative reality. This is pretty absurd. It's good for Harlowe, it's good for her teammates. So whenever we shoot an entangled enemy, those rainbow ones, she and all allies will restore a portion of their action skill cooldown, 1% per shot. Shotguns count multiple times. Basically, whenever you're shooting at enemies and your action skill is down, you're going to get it back in a few seconds. And with this build, with all the ricochets, pretty much with one shot. It is actually insanely powerful on this setup. Now, we also got to go and take a couple different things here. So this build comes together with this augment here, Nuclear Winter. So whenever our allies are in the flux generator, we get extra cryo damage, and whenever we leave it, we get bonus radiation damage, which can help proc that. But basically what we're doing with this is turning our gun damage into action skill damage so that we can then take Excited State here, which will give us the ability to do a free critical hit after we damage an enemy with our action skill. This turns all of our bullets into action skill damage. They have not patched it yet, so we can only assume it's an intended mechanic, and it's a powerful one at that. And with this, we do want to get down here to the group study. This is going to be our best capstone. Although I like to go with critical funding here a little bit earlier on, we're going to continue on this way. You can go for some more ricochet chance. I don't think it ends up impacting as much because in my testing, the gun already ricochets an insane amount. So going with more critical hit damage just makes a lot of sense. Once we get down to distributive function and the accretion here, we obviously want to be able to get our overshield here. So this is really nice. But I like to have at least 1 point here just because if your shield goes down, having lifesteal against entangled enemies just helps you not go down as quickly and survive, and then again get your actions or your shields back. So it's nice. Typically with any character, it's got a split between lifesteal and shields. Vex has 1 too. You want to go 1 point there and 4 here. We're then brought down to group study. So this basically makes it so it comes by us, and then it's going to make it so that we constantly are getting our action skill damage no matter where we're at. And even better, this will also be triggered. You can trigger it again to get even further increased fire rate and gun damage. Although I find what we're doing without this is much not needed. This also then takes us to our next option though. You could go gamma ray burst. I don't like the effects because this ends up draining our shields. It's much better in my opinion to go with Harlowe's certainty principle, which gives us more gun handling, so we're way more accurate. This just lets you actually hit some shots at long range with some of these weapons. The weapon we're using, it doesn't really matter too much, but it brings us down to critical funding, which is one of my favorites here. So when we critically hit an enemy, we get a chance to entangle it and refills a portion of our gun's magazine. So we get 5 ammo on a critical hit. This becomes absurd because all of our shots are now critical hits, so we then have a 15% chance to get 5 ammo back. This lets us use any gun with infinite ammo pretty much. It also works in heavy ordnances. It's kind of absurd. And it also is going to be our next choice here down, the Meltdown, which our critical hits will deal bonus radiation. So this is coming full circle because we can then get a little extra radiation on top of everything. 40% of our damage dealt. It's pretty huge. Now, we want to use a certain class mod that's going to give us points into decoherence. This is a really good one here. Increasing the damage to all sources on entangled enemies, and because of this, we're entangling everybody. And enemies that are inside our flux generator will take further increased damage, and because of Nuclear Winter, it's following us around. This is something you want to put all your points into. You could get +5 into here, that'd be best. Bonus damage takes all of our gun damage increases. So if we have neutron decay giving us a 50% gun damage increase, it's applied to this as well. And there's two sorts of bonus damage here, so really good. And for our last points, it comes down to latent charge and feedback loop. Now, I always end up taking latent charge. I like this one a lot, but this one does bring value too, because this is going to give us increased action skill duration and increased cooldown rate, which is really nice. We can get multiple stacks of this. This just lets us get back into our action skill quicker. However, counterpoint, we do have confirmative reality here, getting our action skill back a lot quicker. So this can be nice, and the action skill damage is good. I just think that getting the extra bonus damage is really nice from latent charge. So whenever we deal bonus damage with gun, melee attacks, and action skills, while we have overshield, and again, we're going to have overshield thanks to distributive function and our shield, this just gives us a 40% extra bonus damage. It is really nice with the decoherence stacking even further. Our damage numbers are off the charts. That brings us to our class mods. Now, I like the reactor just because this one can roll with points into decoherence. Again, the best roll for that would be 5 points into decoherence. And it also comes with some points into the force of will here. So whenever you critically hit an enemy, it'll daze them. And dazed enemies have decreased movement speed and attack speed. Daze can stack. So we're applying this on enemies because we're critting on every shot. I just think that ends up being best. I also have the high caliber on here. It should have like 3 and 2. We'll get to that in a moment. But I found the reactor to be really nice. There is other choices here like the generator here, which can give you extra damage. I just don't find it works well with our Capstone. The new Trooper class mod is actually kind of interesting as well, because this can give us, if you want to play more into your ordnances, you could go with that. I just think we get a lot more damage out of the reactor one. Now, our shield. This one is a pretty solid roll. The Watts for Dinner obviously being one of the best shields in the game. I also want to mention, if you're mobbing, Fireworks is an amazing shield. The Protean Cell is a bit more risky version of the Watts for Dinner. Super Soldier is always going to be a fun one. And it's actually kind of interesting on this build, because if you don't have your action skill up, it can restore the pistol bullets. So that can be nice. But the ideal roll would be an amp shield here. If you can get that roll with 150% gun damage, it drains 35% of your shields for 150. That'd be ideal, but that is a very difficult roll that I don't have on this character. So yeah, that'd be the best roll. But even so, not needed on this one. You've seen the hardest boss in the game deleted. The Stud Finder is actually our enhancement of choice here. This is a big one because guns with torgue licensed sticky magazines deal 50% gun damage on impact. So if we're using the bod, we get a nice juicy boost to its damage, but also the headringer. That's a big thing here. So torgue licensed perk, 25% damage. But that's not all, folks. 100% damage range. This is how our build becomes absurd, because whenever we're shooting with this gun, it has an explosion radius that's now larger. So all those pellets that fall down are much larger in their effects and also much more damaging. This is also a crazy good roll with good pistol damage and gun critical hit damage, since we're doing crits. That'd be the roll you want to roll for, and that's kind of funny that I had this sitting in my inventory, and it's actually insanely powerful here. Now, we also want to throw on a ordnance of some sort. Actually, I'm just going to also mention that there is things like the Gatherer, which can work. This is more so if you want to throw on the bod too, because both of these have the dataless switchers here. So this will actually give you a 50% fire rate increase, and this one also comes with a fire rate increase. This one's pretty crazy, although you can only shoot as fast as you can press the trigger, and that's a lot. You can also get a ripper part on this. Like, there's just so many rolls for the Shalashaska. I've been playing around with it. I don't even think this is the highest DPS. There's a lot better ones out there. It just didn't have the torgue license. But I also want to quickly mention that the increased ricochets with Jacob parts can work well on this build as well. I just think the increased torgue license stickies, or the torgue size, ends up being our best choice, just because it allows all those extra projectiles to explode and hit the same target. My favorite ordnance is actually Disc Jockey for this, but again, we don't need it because our pistol damage is so crazy, so you could just throw on like Crit Knife, or even just whatever type of regular ordnance you want to throw on. The new one, you name it, the new one's not really that good. Our Repkit though, this one I'm just holding. I guess I don't need the high caliber, but I like it because we can get our action skill back. If we don't have targets to shoot, we can get our conformative reality to from our skill tree here to be able to replenish our action skill cooldown with, again, conformative reality. We could use something like the Repkit triple bypass, and now with caffeine. Best roll would be splash damage increases, or any like the rampage. I even like the fast movement speed on an explosive friendly build. It just plays nice. Our firmware, 3 high caliber is essential. This becomes really crazy because the bullets will now pierce. So if we pierce, we're actually able to, with some weapons, do some piercing and ricocheting. It's crazy. And I would recommend 2 Deadeye as well, but you can even put 3 Deadeye for massive boost to our damage. We don't even really need that. And you can also just use the Dark Beast, which will naturally pierce its bullets. But for our weapons, Shalashaska, this is kind of the essential one. You can also use the new roulette, and you want to shoot it until you get the number 7, and then use the infinite ammo from our action skill to just continually shoot with that very fast speed. But Shalashaska is just a lot better. Dark Beast, also just an insane one. Both of these have the shotgun loaders. Be mindful that we have a lot of shotgun bullet ammo. It's just because the shotgun loader is so crazy with the extra pellets it can shoot. And the Dark Beast in particular can actually pierce with the shotgun, and it can explode. And that becomes crazy because the exploding does that 3,792 damage, and we're shooting at a ton of projectiles. Higher chance. The bod is just the bod, everybody knows. Wombo combo's fun for vial farming, but I do think that the Shalashaska just ends up being a better version of the bod at this point. You don't really need anything else other than Shalashaska. Stray sniper if you wanted it. Even like you could use like plasma coil, any of your other favorite weapons in the game, but this is just the best choice. Paired with the specializations, I like really this 50% extra gun damage. Now with caffeine as mentioned, sometimes you just need to spam your Repkit to be able to get it back. I am a gun. This will give us extra action skill damage, which is coming from our gun damage increases. So this 50% adds 25 to it. And a honed bind will give us increased critical hit damage on our action skill. Now the crazy part is, as long as we can get headshots, you got infinite ammo, but if we throw out our action skill here, that's all we really need to do, because then whenever we put our action skill, we're then getting yeah, you gotta be careful because the ricochets will sometimes bounce around like that one there. But you can see it, it's insane. We're getting so much red text there. The damage is out of this world. And again, if we don't have our action skill active, as long as you're hitting headshots, you're gonna have infinite ammo, but it's fine because the reload time on this is really low. Again, ricochets are pretty crazy at times. Another cool thing is you actually keep your ricochets through death, so that's another thing there. You saw that I didn't end up getting a headshot there, so the damage was not amazing, but as soon as we throw out our action skill, it becomes absolute bullet hell. That boss, again, Ultimate Vault Hunter 6 True Mode, deleted in seconds. So yeah, that is the new most overpowered build in Borderlands 4. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you found this video useful, and let me know what type of Borderlands 4 content you guys would like to see next.